Rufus boy, let me love boy, what you know. Rufus boy, let me love boy, what you know. Rufus boy, let me love boy, what you know. Rufus boy.
Instagram Live is so much easier than
Facebook.
Facebook, yeah, because you know we gotta do the whole headphones thing and whatever. So for those joining on with Miss Diverse Classics, aka Anna Isaac, we are discussing our joint December book of the month, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. I loved it. I'll jump right in and say that I absolutely loved this book. I've heard, and you guys can go ahead and chime in with your opinions too. Still trying to get my camera right. But yeah, I've heard so many people rave about it, and even Oprah, like, you know, when you read her foreword, she talks about how much she loved this book and how much she related to it, having been raped as a little girl and things like that too, which intrigues me because I'd like to know more about Oprah other than her adult life, because that's really all I know about her is the talk show host and how she came up from there. So I would love to get to know more of her story. And I don't know, maybe there's a book out there. I don't know. You probably would be the person to know that if there was one exists. So yeah, we're here to discuss it. We don't have any kind of format. We're just kind of here winging it. But I did reread the summary of it just because there was so much stuff that happened. So do you remember if it talks about how, as a girl, Jamie said, oh, there's commentary. Okay, hang on. Jamie said, definitely a classic, read it much younger, appreciated even more reading again. Jessica said, it was a reread for me. I listened to it for the first time and enjoyed hearing it in her voice. I read a physical copy this time and got to see the beauty of her language. So, question for y'all, because that whole audiobook thing is a discrepancy of mine. When I looked on the audiobook copy, it was only like 3 hours long. And then somebody else said that they had one that was 10 hours long. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, my library had it. It was 10 hours long. I mean, I read it, but
yeah,
audio is
and
like a little over 10 hours.
The audio that they hadn't finished it. Sorry, I'm trying to get my camera right over here. That they hadn't finished it, but that the audio that they had was 10 hours long. And I was like, really? This thing doesn't want to say. Hang on. I'm messing with my cameras because it.
You probably had the unabridged copy.
Yeah.
Abridged, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so, anywho, I actually read the book. It was a perfect time to read it because it was Christmas break, so I was actually, see, everybody saying audio was great. Her voice gets me like Toni Morrison.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to do it in audio format, but the versions that I was able to pull up for the paid subscriptions that I already had were like,
it was abridged.
Ridiculously, it was like 3 hours. So yeah, see, Jessica said hers was 10. So y'all got the legit one, because I was like, the one that I have is, you know, not what it's supposed to be. So anywho, going back to my notes. So this book, it takes place during the 1930s, and she lives with her paternal grandmother, Annie Henderson. So do you remember if there was a part in the book where they actually discussed the first time, like how they got with the grandmother? Because I don't recall that. Like, I remember them going back, you know, from their parents, but did it ever say, like, how they ended up in the first place, like how they started out there?
I don't remember that part.
Yeah,
I just assumed when they mentioned that was the whole situation where the parents couldn't handle them, so they sent them to grandma.
Yeah, they simply just left. Yeah, someone said you definitely don't want abridged. Yeah, the copy. Yeah, I wasn't about to do that, but yeah. So, anyways, it's interesting because, you know, they grow up so young. Her and Bailey are what, a year apart?
Yeah,
he's a year older, and so they grow up in this store, and it's kind of a sweet memory, you know, growing up with your grandmother in this store, watching people, you know, the cotton field workers coming in, and just the experience was interesting. I'm sure there was never a dull moment in the store because they were there's always something happening.
Right.
And so you kind of just learn this backstory. Well, first of all, it kind of talks about, Maya talks about as a young child, finding herself being ugly because she's told that, you know, and she keeps comparing herself to white children and
Right.
not being able to hold this standard. So she's already in a place where she's self-conscious about herself because of this. Look, I just found the answer to my question. It says, Maya's parents divorced when she was only 3 years old and shipped Maya and her older brother Bailey to live with their paternal grandmother. So that's what happened, is the parents divorced and shipped them off. Because I was like, how did they land there? Like, that's kind of how the story begins, is they, you know, grow up already kind of being there. But yeah, Maya finds herself tormented by the belief that she is an ugly child who will never measure up to white girls. She does not feel equal to other black children. And then, so the kind of the beginning of the story, when it's Easter Sunday, she's supposed to recite the poem. She gets self-conscious and like a failure. She forgets. She gets ridiculed by the other kids. She leaves the church just kind of crying and wetting herself, which I felt so bad. I'm like, poor little thing is wet herself, yeah, and embarrassed herself. And then I guess she gets picked on because of that by the children that are there afterwards. And Bailey kind of sticks up for her, which I love about Bailey. He's always been her protector from the jump. Like, he's always just been her piece and stuck up for her. So they grow up in Stamps. And I'm kind of just, y'all can chime in with your thoughts on this. First of all, go ahead and chime in with what your overall thoughts of the book was, especially for those of you that reread it and read it when you were younger. Like, tell me how it was different for you. Was this your first time, Anna, reading this book, or had you read it before?
This is my second time.
Okay, so you've read it
For
before.
me,
yeah, for me, this is my first time.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was very brave for her to write this story because what she went through, her life wasn't easy at all. I mean, parents couldn't deal, so they shipped her off. So it's like this whole disconnect of, like, you know, the love from your parents and stuff. And then that whole rape thing, but we'll come to that later.
Yeah.
Overall, I just felt like, you know, she wrote the book to give Black girls courage and to let them know that you'll encounter situations, but they won't
define
you. Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they won't define you. Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, like, the overall theme of the book, I thought, was self-esteem, because again, Maya wasn't like drop dead gorgeous, and she was already self-conscious about what she looks like in the cover screen and her hair and all that stuff. So in the end, after I read the book the second time, I got goosebumps because it dawned on me what the book was truly about. So,
yep. And you know, it's interesting to me. So they live with their grandmother, and then their dad, who they hadn't really ever seen, I mean, since they were 3, so they have no memory of this guy. And obviously in that time, there's not, like, you know, FaceTime, telephone, pictures, that kind of stuff for them to be able to really know who he is. And so all these years have passed, and he just kind of walks in the door, and they're kind of looking at, like, who is this man? Like,
right.
You know, and so he decides to take them back to St. Louis, back where the mom was, which for me, I'm kind of wondering if they had a conversation about him bringing the children back. Because for me, it just felt like he popped up and just kind of was like, here you go, here's your kids, you know, kind of thing. Because she had her own life.
Right.
That she was, what did it say? That she was in the gambling parlors and kind of doing her own thing. She has this boyfriend. So it's kind of, to me, like she had her own life. And then here come these children that are just kind of like, I don't want to say dumped, but I'm like, did they have a conversation? Because the dad just kind of popped up and was like, okay, you're coming with me. And then all of a sudden, it's like you're living with mom.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember there ever being I just remember dad showing up with a fancy car, and the kids were like, who is this? And, you know,
right.
your dad. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that makes me wonder how that, was the mom truly, which obviously you could tell by the way things panned out, was she ever truly ready to take them in? Was she in a position, her life, she was living her best life, like,
right.
And she still continued to do that even after they came. So for me, that's what made me wonder if there was actually ever a conversation, or if he was just kind of like, well, I'm going to bring you to St. Louis. I'll keep you for a little bit, and then I'm going to kind of pawn you off to your mom.
Right.
Sorry, I know people are, I got to take the phone off. Hang on a second. They want me to post the book title. Hang on. Bear with me, guys. I'm trying to type, and this phone is smaller than my other one. So it's bird sings. Okay, I think I've got it. Posts, and then I'll pin the comment. Okay, I think we're good now. All right. I'm like messing up stuff here. Okay. Hopefully we're okay, I guess. Okay. Is that better? Okay, so just joining. Just trying to see the comments. Just reading as an adult who has lived now, and as a mom, totally different appreciation to Honest Point. Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, she definitely had some struggles growing up as a little girl. And so she ends up going to St. Louis to stay with the mom. The mom's still kind of doing what she does best. Living her best life, not, letting them kind of fend for themselves. And so there's this guy named Mr. Freeman who they call his mom's friend, which
trash
absolutely disgusts me. Yeah. But it was interesting because it was just kind of like, this guy's in the house. It was never like mom said, this is my boyfriend kind of thing. It was just like, this man, we come home, this man's just sitting on the couch chilling. And then I don't even remember how they ended up in the bed together. The mom was
I thought her mom would bring her to the bed with her.
And she used to crawl in the bed, right? Yeah, kind of thing, right? Okay. So she kind of crawls into the bed, and then this scene I'm trying to,
not remember.
Yeah. But the mom's not home, I guess, and it's habit for her. She just goes in the bed, right? I gotta fix this camera. Sorry, it's driving me nuts.
I think she's in the bed with her mom, and her mom leaves to go to work or whatever it is that she does, and Mr. Freeman is there, and he pulls her in.
Yeah. And then the first time he just kind of like basically touches her with it, but doesn't go beyond that.
So for her, she's like 8, so she doesn't know, so she's assuming it's a form of love until the douchebag decides to take it upon himself to, I don't even want to talk about that part.
I know.
Because when I got to that part, like, I literally cussed at the book, threw the book across the room, and it was like, I'm done. I can't. I can't.
Yeah, it was definitely difficult to watch, for sure. No words for that. It was definitely a hard scene to read. And, I finally, after reading the first scene, I'm like, okay, well, I mean, it was still bad, but it was like, it could have been worse. You know what I mean? So I kind of was like, okay, we got through that, until you learn that it kind of occurs again.
Right.
And then just, I'm reliving that scene in my mind, and it's so hard, where she's got her underwear is just all bloody, and she tries to hide it under the mattress, and Doesn't want to tell Bailey because she fears for her life. You know, he kind of
Right.
threatens, like, if you talk about it, that's it. It's a wrap for Bailey. Like, he's gonna be taken out. So, you know, she has this fear of speaking on it. But how did it? Yeah, this was like 2 books ago for me, so I'm trying to remember. How did she? How did it come out? I know the mom came home.
I think at this point he has raped her, knocked her out, or something like that, and then she's like sick, like physically sick. So
That's right.
She's
And
already
the mom
had
can't figure out.
Yeah, she's hid her underwear underneath her mattress. Her brother's asking her what's wrong. Our mom is asking her what's wrong. I don't know what happened. Something moved, or maybe she was moving the sheets or something, and that's when
It fell out
it.
or whatever and she saw it. Jamie said, I was glad she described it like that, as hard as it was, because she did like the attention at first and felt loved. Yeah. It was kind of this odd intimacy and this love and being embraced, because you don't really hear about that from their grandmother and their uncle. Like, you don't hear of them giving them hugs or just showing them love. Honestly, I think in the book, looking back at it, from what I can recall, I don't think that they really showed them that type of love until graduation, when they bought the watches and just kind of like, I'm proud of you moment. But other than that, in the book, it just felt like it was like, do this, make sure you're doing this in the store, and clean up your room and do your chores and make sure you're back by this time. And
I think her grandmother and her uncle showed them a different kind of love. So I don't know if you ever read the book, 5 Love Languages. Yes. Maya came across to me as one of those. It was a physical touch. Like, she needed that, right?
Yeah.
Not in the way Freeman gave it to her, but she needed that. Her grandmother and her uncle, all those people, they gave her more of, like, they gave her attention and everything, but it was more of a structure in life. So to them, they were loving her. This is how we're going to raise her. You know, we'll teach her the right things, you know, stuff like that. So that was different for her. And that's what the physical touch of love is what she needed, not what Freeman gave her, but, you know.
Right. So. Yeah, which is why she felt so comforted by it at first. But I was glad that he was actually caught, you know, for what he did. And I was actually kind of surprised at the mom and her reaction, and the fact that, like, she was pissed off, you know what I mean, and did something about it. Because a lot of times when you see situations like that, the mom will do anything to keep the man, or so head over heels in love that, you're an 8-year-old child, what are you talking about? Like, you don't know what you're talking about, kind of thing. You know, they place the blame on the child and try to just sweep it under the rug. We've seen that so many times in stories, TV shows, or whatever, where the child is not believed. And so I was kind of surprised, honestly, because the mom is all about her business and working, and she had this life already established that I didn't think that she was going to believe what happened. So I was happy to see her take action and actually, like, calling the cops, you know, sending him to jail, going to court with it, which I felt so bad for her, because even in her mind, she lied about, you know, the occurrences and how many times, like, yes, he raped me, but that was it. Like, he didn't do anything prior, you know, leading up to that, which I felt so bad. And
but I understood why, because the beginning was different, even though he was molesting her, obviously, but it didn't, you know, she wasn't taught that, and she was super young, so you don't know what love is, and an adult is giving you affection like that. Like, it's different, I guess you can say. But when he, like, literally forced himself on her and knocked her out and all, I mean, that he got aggressive. So that I understood why she said that and why she did that.
Right. She was scared, you know, scared for her life. I see Shoshana. Welcome. She's on the Facebook side of the chat, looking at things. If you guys can get on Instagram, you can see Anna. I know you'll be able to hear her, but you can actually see her face. So you can go to my Instagram, book_girl_magic, and you can see Anna's face on the other chat if you want to join in on that one. But you should be able to hear her voice on this one as well. But yeah, that part was absolutely heartbreaking. And so from that point on, they're sent back to their grandparents to Stamps.
Right.
And that, did she become mute when she got back to Stamps or before that point?
Probably at that point. Basically when it was when she found out that Freeman died. The cops came to the house and said that, they found that he was beat up. She stopped speaking. And I felt like the reason, not only out of fear and shock, was because somebody told her Freeman died. And the reason Freeman died is because she, I don't want to say ratted him out, but she told the truth of what he did. So that fear of her voice, because I don't think Maya was very vocal, but I think the fear of what her voice could do,
the power to kill, right?
So she shut her down, and she didn't talk for like 6 years or something like that.
That's insane. Except for Bailey.
But even with Bailey, it was just occasional. It wasn't just like, full-blown conversation. So that was very interesting.
And then, Mama, which is their grandmother, it's what they called her, introduces Maya to Bertha Flowers, who's the kind, educated woman. And she gives Maya these books to read, which kind of, Maya already had a love for books and things like that before then, but it was, she got her to read out loud, which, giving her books of poetry that helped her regain her voice. So I thought that was really cool that she had someone that could help her have a voice again.
I think Ms. Flowers said that poetry is the music of the voice. And I think she was getting on Maya about reading and stuff. And she was like, well, you got to speak it. And Maya was upset because she didn't want to. She would write it down. And she was like, no, I'm not with that. So I want you to talk.
You better say it out loud.
So
exactly.
I appreciate her doing that. She found a way, like a therapeutic way for Maya to gain her voice again. So at the end of the day, Maya left her voice, but her voice never left her.
Right. That's true. Good point. Jamie said she spoke of that in an interview. She was scared of the power of her words because they had killed a man. Right. Yeah, if you can find that interview too, Jamie, that would be awesome to post in the group, or on this, send it to me so that I can post it, because that would be great. I didn't know that this was a movie until Anna sent me the link today. I thought that was very cool. I'm like, now I want to go watch it and see what it's all about. So thank you, Jamie. She said, sure, I'll look it up. Yeah, it took her, and that's what Jamie said, and look where that took her in her life. Yeah, it did take her far. It's to bring her voice back is like the most powerful tool. That and writing is the most powerful tool in what she's known for today. Can you imagine if she had just stayed mute and nobody brought that out of her?
Right. Yeah.
And children are they're so gullible, and they can easily take something and just run with it. And so to live with that kind of guilt, like, I killed this man, it's my fault. Like, no, he's a monster. Like Jamie said earlier, like, you're not at fault at all for what he did. So then, let's see, Are talking about her years in Stamps, and it shows how Maya becomes aware of both the fragility and the strength of her community. She attends a church revival during which a priest preaches implicitly against white hypocrisy through his sermon on charity. The spiritual strength gained during the sermon soon dissipates as the revival crowd, sorry, I can't read my iPad, walks home past the honky-tonk party. So that's like when they found that body, that dead body, and the white man was celebrating the fact that there was this dead body. Right. And also the community coming together and listening to Joe Louis. I felt like that was such a awesome part to read, just how they came together and they were so excited. And it was like Joe Louis at the time was the hope of conquering the white man. And so everybody was like just rooting for him. Yeah. Longing for him to defend his title against his white opponent. So, But yeah, there's so many different incidents that happened to her as a little girl during that time that do teach her about racism. I think one of the most hurtful parts for me was when she had that toothache.
Yeah.
And her grandmother was like, oh, let's just go into town. I have this dentist that I've learned money, which Black people are amazing to me. Like, honestly, we are so forgiving, even after all that we've been through. The fact that, like, this white man who's a dentist needed money to kind of keep his family afloat. You take your hard-earned money and your earnings and you let this man borrow some money. And then you go to the dentist thinking, oh, he owes me a favor. Like, I've helped him out. You know, no problem. He's going to help me out. And it's like, she walks into the dentist and he's like, I'd rather put my hand in a dog's mouth than put my hands in your Black granddaughter's mouth. And that just, it shattered me. Like, and I loved how Maya kind of came up with her own reenactment of what happened in that story. And she was like, oh yeah, she went in there and told him off and told him to leave town and all of this other stuff. And in her mind, she built up this whole entire story that
it worked for her.
Right, with Mom. And she was, and then it kind of was like, well, I don't know if that really happened, but in my mind, that's what happened. You know, it's just like, Mama's not going to let him get away with that nonsense. So, I appreciated that. And just seeing her perspective in general during that time frame of all the things that they had to deal with. I mean, her grandmother was a pretty powerful person, not only in the Black community, but for a white man to go out of his way to borrow money from a Black woman, like, she had some power and some influence.
Yeah, I thought she had, like, the store, it was the only Black owned store in that community. So you've got to, So
I loved hearing the stories of Maya and Bailey where they would steal candy and pickles and do it discreet. Like, I really wonder, because, you know, adults sometimes will just let kids get away with stuff. Like, in their mind, they're like, oh, yeah, we got away with it all the time. We'd steal pickles, candy, and no one would ever know. And I'm like, okay, as a kid, I know I wasn't that careful. Like, I know that you leave wrappers and evidence and stuff like that. So I'm like, did y'all really get away with this? Or was it something that Mom was just kind of like, let kids be kids. And do what they do? Yeah. But then a part of me also, as strict as she was, I'm like, her and the uncle probably take out a belt if they found out that they're stealing from their store. You know, that's their profit too. Back in the day, it's not easy to get the candy and the supplies and the you know, things that, you know, you needed. So too, and also, like, I was reading this summary to refresh my memory, but it also didn't talk about, which was a significant part for Bailey. 2 scenes for me was seeing his mother, or this lady that looked like his mother, at the movie theater, which caused him to come home super late. And then he was just kind of depressed about, after that, not having their mother around. And then the other thing was Bailey, when he had that crush on that girl and kind of got his heart broken. So you kind of get to see a side of Bailey too, where he's emotional. But you can already kind of see that too, that his emotions, like, he's protective of Maya in that sense too. Like, when people are picking on her, he stands up for her too. So he's just an overall very emotional human being. So yeah, I loved him as a character. Kind of wanted to know more about their story too growing up after the fact. You know, it kind of ends like graduation and you know, well, she 15, 16, because then she ends up going back to California.
I think that
13.
Her life story is like in 4 books, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
So there's like 3 other ones that pertain
I'd be
to her life.
interested to know what happened because it ends at her being 15, 16 and being pregnant. So for me, it was kind of like cliffhanger, like what happens next, you know, with this new, which was interesting to me that she was just kind of picked some rando off the street and was like, let's go do this. And it's like that one time, which all it takes, but it's like that one time you get knocked up. But then she finally kind of felt like it was like this new sense of confidence, like I'm about to be a mom. Like she was coming into her own at that age. You know, she had just become, they had moved to San Francisco and she became the first Black street conductor at 15 years old. And she fought for that too, because there's so many people that telling her no, 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 no. And she really fought to like get that. And she became the first Black woman, which was really cool.
Right.
And then there's another big scene too. Let's rewind a little bit because I kind of skipped. So they end up moving back with Vivian in Los Angeles and then in Oakland. And then the mom remarries, which ends up being a positive. I was scared for that too. I'm like, oh God, here we go again.
Again. Yeah.
Right. But he actually ends up being a positive father figure. And so the whole family moves to San Francisco. But let's talk about Dolores, the dad's girlfriend. She's batshit crazy. And the dad kind of did what I expected the mother to do.
Right.
First time around, he's like, okay, I'm just going to take you to the neighbor's house and you can stay here for the night. And literally left her there all day.
Right.
And she was like, F this.
Right.
I'm packing a couple of sandwiches. And I'm getting the hell up out. And so she just she ends up walking and then finds that junkyard, finds that car, and is inside it. And then those kids kind of wake her up out of her sleep, and she's like, "Oh shit! Like, what is about to happen?" You know.
Right.
And they actually embrace her, so she ends up living this lifestyle with being homeless and whatnot, and for like a month. And then at that point, she finally calls her mom, right? Because her mom thinks she's with her dad. Right. The dad isn't communicating with the mom to let her know what's going on. Obviously, he's chosen Dolores.
The girlfriend.
Right. Which I'm sure the girlfriend was happy at that point. But then she calls mom and is like, come get me, or, you know, send for me. Like, I'm ready to come home. And then, of course, at that point is when she starts working and becomes the first Black streetcar conductor. What was the name? Okay, so it says at 16, she hides her pregnancy. She hid that first.
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did.
I was like, you did a pretty good job of hiding that. And especially with her mom already being in this absent mindset, like she's just always absent anyway. Not really paying attention to what's going on with your daughter anyways. Right. And where was Bailey in all this? Was he living there too?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember any mention of him. You know what I'm saying? It just kind of focuses on her becoming the streetcar conductor and then meeting this guy, or, you know, seeing him in passing on the street and was like, okay, let's go do this. And then she's pregnant. And it's like, boom, the book is over. I'm like, well, what happened to Bailey? Like, I feel like this is like the Logan family saga. I need to go read the rest and
find out what happens.
Figure out what in the world is happening. Yeah. Which I'm excited about reading the Logan family saga. Yeah. Have you read all of them or just Roll of Thunder?
Just Roll of Thunder.
That's what I thought.
To be honest, I didn't know there were other books until I think it was my first year on Bookstagram.
Yeah, that was, and I think I found out last year when I did the Shit She Read podcast. That's when that was earlier like March of last year or something like that. That's when I found out. I'm like, there's 8 because the other book just came out yesterday. I'm like, there's 8 of these books. And the crazy part to me about this, and I know we're going off topic, but I mean, we're pretty much done discussing the book anyway. But Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry is the most popular book of that saga. Right. But it's number 4. And most people don't know that. They think it's like...
It's the first one.
The number 1.
Yeah.
But it's like, there were 3 other books before this. That's crazy. That just blows my mind that the 4th book is the one that became... Like, how do you pick... You know, normally the first book in a series...
is the first one, right.
Right, and people know about it, but it's not... Like, the 4th book is your most popular. I think that's... It blows my mind. So now I want to go back in time, and it's like, okay, that was such a great book, but what are you talking about in the first 3? Because now I'm interested. You know,
I want to see.
There was a lot going on, and they're still pretty young in the 4th book. You know, because they're walking to school, and they her little brothers and stuff like that. So I'm like, and her older brothers. But I'm like, well, how does the book start? So I'm intrigued, but I don't know if I can commit to reading all 8 of them this year.
Yeah, it's middle grade. You could summer read maybe.
I
One or
know.
two.
I'm trying to be smarter with, honestly, well, I wouldn't say smarter, but I'm trying to be more intentional is the word with my reading. And so, you know, we put so much pressure on ourselves to keep up with Bookstagram and pictures and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm only reading stuff that I really want to read. Like
Right.
that's
Yeah, I'm trying to read more of what I own, and obviously I get a few arcs, so those kind of take priority. But like what I own, I'm just kind of random. Like right now, I just started this one just
What is that?
because
Nice.
before we were
Who's
yours.
that by?
I
Sorry,
think it
all
came
the
out like
text is in the
Lisa
way, so I
Wingate.
can't see. Okay.
It came out last year, I think. I don't know. So it was just a random, whatever. Let's see.
Yeah. Just reading the
Kinda.
comments, and Jessica says that she read The Land. But I think Merlene Reeds had a great suggestion that I saw on Instagram. I was just kind of going, she's on a hiatus, but I was kind of going through her post and saw that she had made the blog post about the spin wheel.
Yeah, I did
So
that.
if y'all are not familiar, she got it from another booktuber. And so she creates this spin wheel that she spins, and it kind of lands on, I guess, a genre, because I think that's how she had it labeled out. And so whatever it lands on, she picks a book from that category or whatever the case may be, and then she reads that for the next month or whatnot. I'm thinking I want to do something like that, but a little bit different, because I have hella books on my shelf that are on my TBR stack, and stuff that's good. It's just it's so hard for me to get to stuff. And then I have like 200 and something books on my e-reader that, you know, these $1.99 sales that I buy every day start to add up. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm not going to put everything in there, but I'm going to take like maybe my top 15 from my shelves and maybe my top 15 ebooks, and I'm just going to drop them in a jar and pick, you know, two. Obviously one will be a book club pick. I'm going to leave one to kind of just be open to if it's another book club or something that I really want to read that much. And then I'm going to pick two from the jar and read those if it's an ebook or whatever. But I think that's a good way for me to kind of knock some stuff off on my shelf, because it's like some of these books were hot, you know, in the moment that I got these ARCs, and I just never got to them because more books just keep coming in. I forget, and I'm like, I've literally had these books sitting here for 2.5 years, so it's like, okay, it's time
to read
and
them.
some of them, I would say, for me, are a little bit intimidating too. Like, what is it? They're Marlon James. What's the one that you read? The yellow one.
Oh, I haven't read that one.
What'd you say?
Oh, the one I read was his first book.
Not the Book of Night Women, is it?
Yeah, that's the one I read. I didn't read.
But what about the
yellow book?
Yeah, the big, thick yellow one that he has.
I haven't read that one yet. I was trying to read them in order, and I knew that The Night Women was the first one, so I read that one, and that's as far as I got. It was really good.
Yeah.
It's a great writer. That's as far as I got.
That's with me. I'm trying to, like, there's so many authors, like Tiffany D. Jackson. I wanted to read them in the order. Like, I'm weird like that. I like reading books in the order that the author wrote them.
Yeah.
And I will say, Jason Reynolds is probably the only one that I've not read in order. He has so many books. I'm just like, whatever. I'm reading what I want to read. A Brief History of Severin Killings. Thank you, Jessica.
There you go.
I'm like,
yeah. That's
I'm
it.
literally looking at it, but it's so far away, and this light is blinding me that I can't.
We just remember the cover color. It's yellow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jess said that The Well, which is number 2 in the series, is 92 pages. She said The Land, which is number 1, is long, though. The one that she just came out with yesterday is long, too.
Yeah, it's like
that book is
400 pages. Yeah.
And y'all know how I feel. I'm the audiobook queen. I love me some audiobooks. So I'm like, if it ain't in audio, yeah. But I am trying to do better. Like, I am reading an ebook right now. That's why I pulled up my Goodreads. Danzy Senna, I'm finally reading New People. I've had that on my shelf forever too, for about 2 years.
Come talk to me when you read that one, Maria.
Yeah, I saw some of the ratings on there and I was like, ooh. Yeah, I think I was looking at your review.
I think I gave it a 3.
No, you gave it a 4.
I gave it a 4. I think in the beginning I gave it a 3, but
Yeah.
I think months later, that book was still on my mind. So for me, when a book affects you like that and it's still on your mind,
It's got to be something.
it's got to be worth
Yeah.
something. So I think I bumped it
Yeah.
up to a 4. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm definitely reading. I'm reading that now, but I'm reading the ebook. So I'm trying to challenge myself because I want to do, like I said, I want to be more intentional and I want to do a little bit better. So audiobooks will still be king in my life. Like,
I get it.
yeah, on my commute, that's,
It
knocking out one a week. But I definitely want to read more physical books because I have so many of them.
I've gained more. So I know back in November, I counted 700 and something, and
I don't even want to count mine.
it has to be over 1,000 at this point. That was November, and I was getting.
Where do you?
Would you like to see? Would you like to see?
Yeah, I do.
Let me show you.
Tour. Look, we're getting a behind the scenes tour of books.
Right now, I just got random.
Oh, I love that.
All right.
1619. I love that.
So let me show you. Gotta turn on some light here. I'm giving you guys a house.
Yeah. Unexpected.
I'm in
the grand tour.
But I had a closet that had.
Oh, that is freaking awesome.
Yeah. So what I've done is I'm trying to separate books that I've read and put those up here, and books
that
that
baby teeth?
Where?
Oh,
girl, I trashed.
I think you just. Oh, never mind. I thought that was red and white one.
No. And then what I'm trying to do is just organize, like trying to do 2 shelves of books that I will read with between January and March.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of go from there. So
I gotta look at the floor. That is insane.
It's pretty bad, guys. Like, I'm not even kidding. And I'm not even requesting that much anymore. So it's like, I got all these books to read.
And see, my dilemma is I don't watch DVDs anymore, and I actually don't buy them anymore because they end up being on TV or whatever, or digital. But I have like hundreds of DVDs that are in my spare bedroom. But those are going to have to be moved as I'm moving kids around into their bedrooms. Like, those are going to have to come out. So what you did with your closet space with books is what I'm going to have to do with DVDs. My next house is going to have a basement, an office that has like wall-to-wall bookshelves because this is just, it's out of hand. And I've already donated. The crazy part is I've already donated a lot of books.
I did the same. I donated.
I'll have to go through, but everything else that I have right now is something that at some point in life I'm going to read it. So,
I gotta reevaluate that because, like, what do you do with your arcs? I have tons of art, so I was like, some I haven't read, some I have read. I was like, is there any value to them? How much of the book has changed since, the final copy? So it's like, do I hold on to it and read it anyway? So
And I do have duplicates of some of my books, just that I'm running out of space on my wall of shelves. I have a lot of duplicates, and even with the publishers that they send us stuff, it's like, oh, now this book is out in paperback, but I'm like, oh, well, I have the ARC. Do I need this one too because it's the final? You know what I mean? So I just keep, I'm like, I don't need that book again. Like, I don't need it. But what I'm thinking of really doing, what I've been contemplating, I need a new bookshelf anyways because my grandfather broke the bottom shelf. Like, he was putting curtains up and he stepped on it. So it's like one of those ladder ones, and he broke the bottom one. So I need to get a new one, and I need to get a wider one anyways so that it'll fit way more books. But I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I got my TV on a stand. I'm like, what if I hang the TV over the fireplace, and then I just get like a big, massive, because this wall is pretty big, like just get either multiple 3 or 4 bookshelves to kind of just make,
side by side.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know what to do. There's just so many, like, I have books on the floor and in boxes and like doubled up on shelves and stuff like that. I'm like,
I've got 3 boxes right here that are filled with books. I'm working on it. Work in progress.
Yeah. I need to just open up like a bookstore or a library in my house, or put one of those little libraries in my front yard.
That's a good idea.
Just let people come get books and dispose. So time is it? Oh, it's 8:48. Well, anyways, I know we've kind of ranted about these books, but if you guys have any final thoughts on I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, which is our joint December book of the month, I loved it. Loved hearing Maya's story. It gave me a whole new respect for her as a woman and who she is. So that was really cool to finally read her story, because I've heard so many great things and heard that she had been through a lot. So it was kind of nice to actually read and figure out what exactly that was. The other thing, before I get on as final thoughts, is that if you're joining us in January, and I did say this in our Facebook group, if y'all aren't part of the Facebook group, like, go to the link in my bio and go join the private Facebook group, because I'm telling you what, we've added so many people in there since the new year is popping now. Like, it's Club Book Girl Magic. Like, there's people constantly chatting and talking, and I posted about that yesterday, and someone was like, I was just thinking the same thing. Like, it's so much more active with people in there. But anyways, I told the group of ladies in that group that for the members that read every single Book Girl Magic pick for 2020, I will do a drawing. And it's not going to be just like I'm giving away a book. Like, it's going to be a pretty decent drawing for those who stick with it and are able to read every single one of our books. And maybe we might be able to do for the people that actually complete the reading challenge, the Diverse Magic Reading Challenge too. I'll think about that. But for sure, if you read our book club picks, I will put you in a giveaway, which will be pretty freaking awesome. But our, God, the ring light. Okay, there we go. Our January book of the month is More Than Enough by Elaine Welteroth. I'm excited to read this. I've heard nothing but great things from everybody that's read it so far. Sucks because I don't read my books until the end of the month so that I can discuss it or remember what's going on.
If you read that one now, it's one you won't forget.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say. It's really, really good. So
yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
I think right now I'm trying to finish Children of Virtue and Vengeance. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Not that it's like horrible, but it hasn't caught me yet where I'm like, oh my, fully invested like I was in the first one. I don't know. It could just be me, but I'm slowly trucking through it. So I'm listening to that, and then when I'm done, I'm gonna read She Came to Slay, the Harriet Tubman book. I can't wait for that one, and then I'll read that one afterwards.
I heard that one was
Jessica
good.
said there's a really good American Masters documentary about her that goes through her whole life. Sweet. Send me all the links. Books by the Cup said, I don't have Facebook. Sorry for you.
You're not missing anything.
Besides one book in 2019. I can do it. Which book did you miss in 2019, Jamie? I'm interested to know which one you didn't read. I think I had, like, my picks. They get better for me. They get better each year. So I'm kind of learning what the group likes and what they don't like. And Anna and I kind of went over the book picks a couple days ago, Monday, something like that. Monday. We were talking all day, whatever day that was. So I think we have some good stuff. We've modified it a little bit, but I think what we have is pretty solid. So I'm excited. I'm excited for February. It's my birthday month. So of course I had to go with this amazing pick. And I actually spoke with the publisher yesterday. And I'm not going to say which publisher it is because it's going to give it away. But I will say the book was newly released within the last month or so, maybe less than that. I'm trying not to give away too much. But anyways, the publisher has offered to send me, because I have the ARC. I've had it since BookCon. So that's how long this has been a book club pick, is since BookCon. So I'm dying to read it, and I refuse to read it until it became a book club pick. So they're sending me a final copy because I need a final copy. I asked for that, but I also got them to give me one for a giveaway too. So when I announce the book February 20th, you'll have to wait another week and a half, but I will have a great giveaway for everybody. February babies are the best. Why did I not know that your birthday was in February, Jessica? And when is your birthday? She Came to Slay is a good one. I read it in one day. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to go about that. I think I want to listen to the audio while I physically hold the book and read it, because there's a lot of pictures and things in it too. Can I tell y'all that I'm so spoiled that book was so hard for me to purchase, because I'm so used to like not paying for books, that to pay $17 for a book blew my mind. But I did it because I felt like it was worth it, and I really wanted a book on Harriet Tubman, especially after seeing the movie Harriet. So yeah, I got it, but that was $17 book was hard for me to purchase. So only books I purchase around here are $5 Dogman books and Captain Underpants. Graphic novels for kids. So yeah, look, somebody said $17.
$17, yeah.
Yeah, and the only reason, well, here's another reason. I technically paid the $17 for it, but so I bought a copy of Sula by Toni Morrison, and my Secret Santa ended up sending it to me like days later. And I was like, what are the odds that I bought this? So I ended up sending Sula back, which was $12. So I had a $12 credit on on Amazon, and then it was only $5 if I bought She Came to Slay. So that's kind of how I broke it down almost, like, so it didn't feel like I was shelling out $17. But yeah, boy, I know I sound cheap, but that was hard. That was tough for me to do. I was like, I'm used to getting books for free and just asking for what I want. I'm so spoiled. That's how I sound, like a spoiled brat right now. But I'm like, I don't, I use Book Outlet and things like that, or get them real cheap on Amazon. I'm like, even when I pay for books, I don't spend $17 on a book. Like, you remember They Were Her Property, how much that was?
Yeah, that was like
when we first looked, $30.
$30-something, yeah.
And then that's when we reached out to the publisher and we were like, hey, you know that book? And it was already published at that time. So I didn't think that we were gonna get it. And sure enough, they sent us a copy of They Were Her Property, and I was like, score, because $30.
That book all year. I got my $30 worth.
And I think I used Libro FM for the audio for that one. So I'll definitely go back. But that book was fascinating too. Yeah. I borrowed at the library. See, my library has... Oh, Jessica's birthday is the 3rd. Mine's the 27th. So you're an Aquarius. I'm sorry. Poor Aquarius.
Overground Railroad.
Just kidding. Yeah. I'm a Pisces. Creative geniuses that we are, and emotional human beings. Someone said, okay, Books by the Cup said I borrow from the library. Yeah, see, the problem with is I hate to say this, I live in a very... Yeah, I do. I live in the suburbs, and so my library doesn't have everything, so it's kind of frustrating. Or if they have it, there's like a 16 week wait to get the books that I want. So it's like either wait. So sometimes I just purchase or whatever. I immediately left the movie on Christmas Eve and bought the book too. Yeah, that was me. I bought it within a day or two because I was like so fascinated by Harriet. I wanted to know more about who she was. Not bad. So is the Overground Railroad, what is that? Yeah,
that one's a big chunky one. It's about $35.
What's that about? Oh, that's how much it was.
It's about the Green Book.
Oh, that's the one you just got? And it was $30?
The publisher sent me that one. They sent me a final copy, but yeah.
I was about to say, but still, you got it though.
If I paid for it, it would have been worth every penny. That book is amazing.
Books by the Cup said Anna knows my story about They Were Her Property. Yeah. Mine is Sunday. Oh, you're a Capricorn. Yeah, my ex-husband is one too. Sorry for you. His birthday is tomorrow, which is weird because I don't know. My kids are at basketball practice, and we were supposed to have practice yesterday, which is why I scheduled this today. And they moved practice to today. And I was like, this is messing up my plans. Like, you guys, your sports are messing up my life here. And so I was like, listen, I'll drop them off at practice at 7 o'clock, but you either got to keep them with you till 9 o'clock because I cannot be disturbed, or you're going to have to figure something out. So he's like, I'll keep them up overnight because I'm off on Thursday. And I was like, why the hell are you off on Thursday? Yeah, turns out tomorrow's his birthday. That's why. Oh, that's good for him. But anyways, happy early birthday, Jamie. I'm just kidding. Some Capricorns are nice. You're one of them. But someone put hashtag suburban life issues. Yeah, my library is real whack. real whack. And I can get Harry Potter. I can do that. But outside of that, yeah, I'm not getting nothing else. I need to find somebody who like lives in Atlanta who's got a DeKalb County or Fulton County library. I could probably find everything I need there. Women and men are different. Yes, they are. Anywho, y'all, you know Instagram is about to put the little minute timer on there and kind of cut us off. So I know I enjoyed the book. Anna, you have any last minute thoughts about the book?
Just my takeaway from the book that it just taught you. I feel like Maya taught us how the Black girls have value and to learn to forgive, because having that burden on your shoulders can really weigh things down for you. So, I mean, overall, that's my takeaway of the book.
Yeah, I loved it. Taught me a lot about her, but also myself too, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice to see her grow up and become what she did. And honestly, when you look at people, trauma is what really tells your story. You know, it pushes you to become that greatness. Like, But Girl Magic wouldn't exist if I was still married and, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's part of my journey to become who I am and learn more about Black women and people who look like me and read more books by people who look like me. So, you know, that's my journey too. But I think it's very powerful. Yep. Legal Birdie said such a powerful book. Read it 4 times in my life. Wow. That's incredible. Facts. Jim said facts. Yep. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. We're so glad. Thank you, Anna, for coming on with us.
You're welcome.
Always a pleasure when I can have. I know we have another planned joint read later this year.
Yes,
summer, something like that.
Yes, ma'am.
June, I think, which y'all won't know until May. But sorry to tease you, but we'll have another one coming in the summer/spring. So.
Yes.
With that, we will talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.